some people go through homelessness for many, many, many years. And some were born into poverty and homelessness and a lot of things that go with that. Others, stuff happens, and it really changes at some moment the duration of their life. And in our work, especially with Department of Defense and with the VA, we find that if we can interrupt some of those things that happen before they happen, it can help people not go through some pretty awful events in terms of housing. And what often those events have in common is that they have to do with what happens in a close relationship. That when a close relationship, whether it's losing a wife, or a sister or mother, goes through, or a spouse, for whatever reason. Sometimes we lose people who are still sitting right there, but we've lost them in every other way. Sometimes people pass. Sometimes people are no longer here mentally. A lot of things happen. But when the relationship's not with the 7 billion people, but with the few people that are really on the island of our lives, it's a very small group. In this big world, wherever we are, we create a little island. We're lucky if we have 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 people that we're really connected to. People who, they want to know how we're doing each day. We know how they're doing. People who, when they say, "How are you?" they actually listen to the answer. People who would like to witnesses to our lives. We're lucky if we have a small group. Those relationships are often life-saving relationships. And when those relationships break down for whatever reason, it can lead to a spiral in which that can affect the rest of our lives. For some people, it can lead to depression. For some people, it can lead to looking for other ways to relieve the pain, drugs, alcohol, gambling, all kinds of disappearing into work, for the next 50 years. Because generally human beings don't want to be in pain. So we look for ways not to be in pain. That's not because there's anything wrong with us, that's because we're programmed to survive. So we look for what's available. And that's what we do. And that's normal. Now, there's an added challenge often with military, people who have military vets and military training. Because in the military, people are taught in order to be effective, they're supposed to not really feel. Think, act, follow the rules, do what you're supposed to do, stay focused on the mission, don't pause, because if you do, it could be your life or somebody else's life. And that makes perfect sense in that area of our lives. That would make perfect sense to stay alive, to protect other people, to get the job done that's expected of warriors and all those who support the warriors that defend this country. But the mission changes when the military is done. When it's no longer about, keeping the planes running, or, whatever your assignments are. But it's about taking care of a mom who's going through what you described, or nurturing a child, or caring for a loved one. That's a whole different experience. That's a whole different mission. But as I said when we first started, people choose from what they know. So what somebody learned is a certain way of being and dealing with the world. That's what we do. And Bruce shared that even though his dad was trained as a drill sergeant, he didn't bring it home. That's very unusual. Most people do bring home what they learn, because that's what they have. It's sort of like when you wake up every day, you go into your closet, you see what's there, you put on something that you got. No matter how much you might want to put on something else, if it's not there, you can't really put it on. You have to get it. So that's what we do. We put on the behaviors, the attitudes, the knowledge, the skills that we have. And we do the best we can to make that work for the situation. What happens with relationships more often than not isn't about the person. Whether it's a neighbor that's no fun to be around, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a coworker, you name it. People are all works in progress. people all have good things and things that aren't so fun to be around. That's true of every human being on the planet. You can find anybody on the planet. If you want to find what's good about them, you can write a book about what's good about them. And if you want to find what's wrong with them, you can write a book about what's wrong with them. It tells you more about where you are than give me or any of us at a given moment in time by what we're looking for in another person. If we're looking for what's wrong, we'll find it. If we're looking for what's right, we'll find that too. It's all there. So, and that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. So, but what often happens has to do with emotions. Because emotions have their own energy and their own logic. That, and this is important information for people who may not have been exposed to this. If someone's going around thinking they're supposed to choose what they feel, that can contribute to real suffering. By the time our mind knows we felt something, we've already felt it. We can choose what we're going to do about what we feel. We can choose how we want to interpret what we feel. But the slowest feeling is much faster than the fastest thing. We feel things before our mind even is aware of it. And then our mind can help us decide how we're going to navigate this. What are we going to do? But if we're following rules that say, well, we're not supposed to feel certain things, and we want to just stuff it inside, that has a lot of energy. I think that's a lot of why 22 veterans a day take their lives in this country. It's because of that rule that they're following that says, I'm not supposed to feel what I feel. Well, upsetting feelings have different energy than uplifting feelings. Feelings like anger, fear, and sadness, they have different energy than feelings like love, desire, and tenderness. So the more of this that's inside, the more it buries the others. And emotions have no sense of time. Something you might have felt when you were 5 years old, or in 5th grade, or in 1969 can be just as present at any moment in time as it was when it actually happened. Emotions have their own way of working in the world. A smell, a sound, a word can bring back emotional experiences as if we're right back in what happened. For someone who's experienced homelessness, for example, somebody that even threatens someone's housing can cause such an emotional reaction that someone that never went through that would never have known. Excuse me? For sure, for good reason. Not because they're nuts, not because there's something wrong with them, but because we're programmed to survive. If something wasn't safe at one point and then something happens that reminds us of it, we get reactive. And we can end up getting reactive to the person or the event in the present with all the energy that ever was connected to it. What do we do? And the other person's just left with what happened. They don't know what happened. They don't know our history. They don't know all this other stuff that's there. So, but a lot of people follow rules that say, you know what? You're not supposed to be mad. If there's other, you should just count your blessings. Certainly don't ever say you're scared. Don't ever say you're worried. Don't ever let anybody see that you're sad. Because if you do that, you're not a good, you fill in the blank. You're not a man, you're not a woman, you're not a soldier, you're not a warrior,
One thing most people think
that you're weak. Yeah, that you're weak.
that pops up when you're in the middle of something.
And now if that all just disappeared, if we could just say, I'll ignore it, it disappears, that's one thing. Or if you could just go take a walk, or ride a bike, and it would go away. And there are some studies that show that exercise can really help. But it depends on the intensity of the feelings. And it depends how many layers are there. Eventually, upsetting feelings held in will bury all the other feelings. To a point where you won't even know they're there. Now, they don't kill them. They don't destroy them. They just bury them. And the way you know that's happening is we start to leave. When you think of yourself as a newborn, a cute little kid, all of us were that cute little kid. All of us were that kid under the blue blanket or the pink blanket with parents who, somebody who really was happy to see us, who was really grateful we had finally arrived, who had all kinds of dreams for what life would be like. And all we wanted to do is to be held, and to be loved, and to be nurtured, and to be safe, and to get our needs met. That's what we wanted. That's a normal thing to want. But then stuff happens. Stuff happens. You know? Stuff happens. Stuff happens to us, stuff happens to the people in our lives, stuff happens to the people in their lives, stuff happens. When we start to get reactive to all those things, and you see that, and we become people that might become sarcastic, people that ridicule, people that taunt, people that make fun of other people, people that put up big stone walls so that nobody can get close to us or see us, people that assume or sneer or make fun of others, people that blame. You know, those are not normal. That's not how we're born to be. Those are all ways of protecting ourselves when we think we're in danger. Those are ways of pushing other people away. Now, maybe of the 7 billion people, there are a whole bunch you'd want to push away. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. But if we're pushing away the people that our life is connected to, if we're pushing away the people that we would give our life for, that's a whole different story. But so that's a sign that someone's judged us for. And when other people are doing that to us, it can be very tempting if someone's blaming or ridiculing or assuming or taunting or treating us certain ways. It can be very tempting to react. And when that creates, it's like putting gasoline on a fire. When you realize that when people behave that way, it's because of what they're going through. We're all imperfect. We're all works in progress. None of us always get it right. But someone's behaviors, the way they're acting, that's always about the person acting that way. You know, that's about them. That's not about us. So we might try to put a lid on it, put a cork on it, as you said. And there's a lot of ways to do it. You know, a lot of people come in here with a 5-page list of medications they're on to keep the lid on things. You know, some people, we all have our way of trying to put the lid on. But eventually, all those feelings go one of two ways. Some of us explode inside. The way you know you're exploding inside is it's a general state of sadness. It could be your birthday in Disney World and you're still sad. It could be your favorite TV show. It could be your best friend that you haven't heard from for a long time calls. It could be some great celebration, just this constant state of sadness. At another extreme, it becomes depression. At the ultimate extreme, it becomes one of the 22 veterans a day who take their lives. Not because of what's happening, but because of what happens when you keep all that stuff stuffed inside. That's the because. It's not what happens. Stuff happens in life. You grow up in there's a lot of communities in America, just growing up in the community is a traumatic experience. Growing up in places where people drive by and shoot bullets through windows, where children from elementary school, words like rape and murder and parents in prison are common terms. Where we live in a world where a lot of people have been traumatized. And that's here. And this is the best of places. Imagine other places. And that's without their military experience. Some people explode outwardly. And the way you know if someone's exploding outwardly is it starts with just a general state of anger. Like you wake up with a short fuse looking for any excuse. Somebody said this or they said that. Somebody honked, they didn't honk. Somebody turned quick enough, they didn't turn quick enough. Someone had 15 items in the checkout, they didn't, who knows? If you've got a short fuse and you're looking for a reason to go off, you will always find it. We live in a world where there's never a shortage of reasons to go off. At the ultimate extreme, that short fuse becomes violence. And guess who that violence tends to be towards? Who do you think? Well, if you're imploding, it's generally towards yourself. If you're exploding, it's generally towards the person you would give your life for. It's generally towards people that if anybody else threatened them, you would do everything you ever possibly could to protect them. But that becomes who it is. People are not on a base. They're not in Afghanistan or Iraq or Vietnam or Korea. They're in their bedrooms, in their kitchens, in their cars. That's where we are. And the people we end up getting explosive on, because of all that energy, is the people we love the most. It's a horrible irony. But that's what often happens. And it's not because people are bad. The person who developed this concept wasn't me. He'd gone around prisons interviewing murderers, and found that most had murdered someone they loved. It was just this split second. And often they were the kindest, most gentle, most sensitive people in the world. And because of that, they held so much in that when it finally came out with such an explosion that terrible things happened. So those aren't good options. For all of you who know people who aren't here anymore, the only thing I know we can do for people who aren't here anymore is to make the most of our time. That's the only thing I know we can do. I don't know any way to bring back somebody who's gone emotionally or physically. But I do know that we can honor them by doing the most we can, making the most of whatever we want our lives to be. That's very hard to do when your jug is full. It's very hard for the people you care about to do when their jugs are full. So I'm going to show you a very simple way to empty the emotional jug. So that when you leave here today, you're going to have that skill for the rest of your life. You're going to know how to do that. So that whether it's you or someone whose path crosses yours, if you notice that they're on the verge of imploding or exploding, that you will know how you can help.